Yeah, stay prepared for the up and downs. Life is like a seesaw. Some say it's a bitch, man.
What's going on, guys? Just another critic here. We are continuing our Week 6 predictions. Now getting into the Iowa versus Michigan game. Iowa 4-0 right now, ranked 14th in the country. Michigan ranked 19th in the country, coming in at 3-1. Iowa 2-2 against the spread. Michigan 1-3 against the spread. And let's go ahead and jump into the statistics very quickly, and then we can go ahead and get into my own thoughts. Right now, Iowa putting up 33 points per game, allowing 8 points per game. Offensively, putting up 247 through the air, 217 on the ground. Defensively, allowing 172 through the air and 78 on the ground. Michigan, on the other hand, putting up 32 points per game, allowing 19 points per game, putting up 261 through the air, 130 on the ground, and the defense right now is allowing just 127 through the air and 168 on the ground. All right, moving into this matchup, as we both know, Michigan right now, I mean, as far as what we've seen from them throughout the season, through 4 games, it's kind of been just another one of those Michigan years, right? Where high expectations with big time, where they're just not meeting those expectations. They're just underperforming as a program. And as a neutral fan, because I'm not, a Michigan fan, or I'm not a Michigan hater or anything like that, but it's like, what is the issue, right? Because they continue to bring in some of the best high school athletes and 4- and 5-star recruits. Is it the coaching? Is it the players? Is it the system? What's going on internally that's really holding these guys back from meeting their full potential and playing to that standard that they are expected to play at, right? When you're playing at a program like Michigan, when you're playing at a blue blood program for that matter. And so that's something that we can, discuss another time. But going into this matchup, they're coming off a great win versus Rutgers, 52-0, and I do think that's going to help their confidence. But looking back on that game, I still don't feel like they're getting the best quarterback play out of Shea Patterson. In that game, he went 17 for 23, threw for 73%, but, I mean, he only threw for 1 touchdown and 1 interception. He finished the game with 4 total touchdowns, 3 of which were rushing touchdowns. And so, which isn't, a bad thing. Hey, however you can get into the end zone, get into the end zone. But when you run into better defenses who can scheme for you, like a team such as Wisconsin or like a team such as Iowa, they're gonna have a couple athletes to be able to sit around the line of scrimmage and pretty much spy you. And if you're gonna run, they're gonna be ready to key in on that. I mean, Shea still may be able to make some plays through his scramble ability. We've seen that in the past, but I'm not sure that it's something that you want to depend on at this point, and you shouldn't have to depend on it with the athletes that you have at Michigan at the skilled positions and some of those wide receivers that they have. And so, they have DPJ, they have, I think his name is Nico Collins, and then there's Ronnie Bell, I think. And so they've got a lot of talent at the wide receiver position. They've just pretty much been underutilized at this point. Not saying that's going to be the case as the season goes along. We expect Michigan to get better, and we're trying to understand that they're in a new system, right, with a new offensive coordinator, and that they're still trying to figure things out. But at what point do we see that execution come to game day? And so right now, so far from what we've seen from Michigan, I think that Rutgers game is a great sign, especially their defense getting a shutout, because they really had just been struggling overall versus everyone, versus Middle Tennessee, versus Army, and then obviously big time versus Wisconsin. And so we saw pretty much signs of what that defense was a year ago in this game versus Rutgers, allowing just 46 yards on the ground and 106 yards through the air. And so coming into this matchup, I think they're going to be more confident. They're just going to feel better about themselves, right? Because not only that, but I think a lot of the pressure has been taken off of their shoulders. I think while they know that the college football playoff may not necessarily be, in the cards for them, they still know that the Big Ten championship and a win versus their rivals is still on the table. So they can still go out and get those things, and it'll be a satisfying season. It may not be a college football playoff season, but if they can go out there and compete with the Michigan States and the Ohio States and find a way to win those games, I think the Michigan fan base will be more than happy to end the season that way. However, this game going into this matchup with Iowa isn't one of those teams you can just overlook. They've always been a team that is going to battle. They're one of those gritty teams, kind of just like Wisconsin. They don't really get all the recruits, but they always do a lot with the least. And so in these head-to-heads that Michigan has played Iowa, if you go and look back at the history in just the recent last decade, these games have been close. They've pretty much always been close, starting you can go as far back as 2003. And so in the last three matchups, the only one that Iowa had gotten blown out in was 2012. Other than that, 2013, 21-24 Iowa, and then 2016, 13-14 Iowa. And so right now, Iowa is actually on a 2-game win streak. They're getting phenomenal play from their quarterback in Nate Stanley, who hasn't thrown an interception yet. I understand he hasn't played amazing competition. He did play Middle Tennessee State, just like Michigan. He went out there, threw for 276 yards, 68% completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, and just had a pretty clean game. And so the thing with Iowa, they're another team that's just going to play team football, right? Fundamental football, staying disciplined. That's pretty much what you're going to get when you go up against them. Right now, they're looking really good on both sides of the ball. The difference here is that I do think they are a bit more dependent in the pass game because they don't really have a guy that's just going to run the rock, like a Jonathan Taylor that they can just hand it off to him, anywhere from 23 to 25 plus times a game, and he can go out there and be that workhorse for you. I'm not sure they have that, and I think that's a big reason why Wisconsin was able to find such success and have a balanced attack versus Michigan, is because they were able to establish the run game, which obviously, as any football, anybody who knows football knows that if you can establish the run, you can find success in the pass game. And so I think that's obviously going to play a big part in this matchup. Is Iowa going to be able to find success in the run game? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I mean, it looks promising from what they've done on paper, right? They've played Miami, Ohio, put 213 on the ground, Rutgers 194 on the ground, and then ran into an Iowa State team who held them to 112 on the ground. And so that was probably the best defense that they've faced on the season just yet. And with the way that Michigan, has looked, I mean, they can certainly find that success, but I think right now Michigan is in a position defensively where they're pretty much going out there to prove people wrong that, hey, this is Michigan. We know we haven't been at our best, but we're not done yet, and we're still going to go out there. We're going to compete, and we're gonna finish the season strong. And I think they're going into this game with that type of mindset where they know that they have the athletes, they know that they have the better players, and they want to put that on the field. And so while I do love Iowa, and while I do think this will be a close matchup, and I think it can go either way, I think right now with Michigan playing at home in the Big House, that's also going to be a big advantage. And I'm just not sure that Iowa can find consistent success on the ground in order for them to find success in the pass game. Iowa, they do have some athletes on the outside. Can't remember the dude's name, but he's number 6. He looks like a big time impact player. Keep an eye out for him if you're a Michigan fan. But they're gonna look to go to him a lot. As far as their running backs go, they've pretty much, like I said, they've got a running back by committee type offense, so they're not really depending on one guy. They've got a handful of scat backs, and then they've got maybe one bruiser, number 28, who's not very, he's not going to break a 80-yarder on you, but he's going to go out there and try and get those 2 to 3 yards that they may need for that first down. And so while I love this matchup, I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a battle of the defenses. Iowa's defense I haven't really talked about much, but they've pretty much done everything that was expected of them coming into the season. There was a lot of hype with AJ Espinoza, one of the top defenders in the country, and so in this matchup, this may be pretty much similar to what we saw in 2016, where the result was 13-14, because I'm not expecting these offenses to find a lot of success versus each other, with the way that Shea Patterson is playing and with the way that Michigan hasn't really been able to find success on the ground consistently as well. 108 versus Army, 40 versus Wisconsin, 141 versus Rutgers. And so this game, I believe, is going to be a battle of the defenses. Obviously, it's going to come down to which quarterback can make a play, and that might be Nate Stanley. I'm just not sold on Shea Patterson at all. And as much as I think Iowa State can, and they do have the advantage in this game, I think playing away in Michigan, and I think it's just a tough ask. I think it's a tall task. And so I'm gonna have to go and lean towards Michigan. As much as I don't want to, not because I don't like Michigan, it's just because I haven't seen a lot out of them. But after that Rutgers game, I feel like they've found some of their confidence. They've kind of gotten it together. I don't think they fully wrapped their head around what they're trying to do yet. But defensively, I think more importantly, which is a big part of their identity as a program, having a stout defense, I think that was critical to finding success in the season as a whole. And so for those reasons, my final score, I'm going to have to go 17-13 Michigan. Final score 17-13 Michigan. And yeah, but like I said, I think this game can go either way. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to which quarterback can make a play, because I think both defenses will have a phenomenal Saturday. And so with that being said, I appreciate you guys listening to the podcast, or if you're on YouTube, I'm going to go ahead and cover the Ohio State versus MSU matchup next. Catch you in the next one, guys. Peace.
Yeah, stay prepared for the up and downs. Life is like a seesaw. Some say it's a bitch, man. I couldn't agree more. 1 minute you're on top, then you're in the